Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Good evening. Let's bring our meeting to order. So I'd like to thank you all for coming to this public hearing. Folks from Phillips Exeter Academy, Heather, Curtis, and Mark, and all of you at the Heritage Commission. Mark, if you could advance that slide for me. I don't see anybody from the public joining us at the moment in person or through Zoom, but what I want to identify is our plan of agenda. That's good. And why we're here tonight. We're here to talk about the property at 8 Gilman Lane and 35 High Street. So want to be able to hear from the public and create a public record of this discussion. And then also to have a discussion and dialogue around this particular property and proposal. So,
Jay, can you introduce us?
That's next. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I'm not looking at the slides.
Yeah. So my name is Jay Myers. I'm the chair, and I'll let others introduce themselves. We'll start at my right.
Bill Campbell, a regular member.
Julie Gilman, the Select Board Representative.
Pam Chedham, Historic District.
John Merkel, regular member.
John Gruder, Planning Board Rep.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and advance. So I will entertain a motion to open the meeting for public comment. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is a second?
Second.
Any further discussion around that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. So we'll move forward with that motion. So the purpose of the Heritage Commission is to do for historical resources what a Conservation Commission does for natural resources. So this committee, on these occasions, provides advice, conducts inventories, educates the public, provides some information about resources, and serves as a resource. And this is one of 50 Heritage Commissions in the state of New Hampshire. Relative to our proceedings today, we were our presence and advice is triggered with applications for demolition on structures and buildings that are over 50 years old. So at the site, members of the Heritage Commission visit with property owners, and the committee undergoes a process of deliberation, asking themselves, does the interest or quality of this property meet national, state, or local criteria designated as historic, cultural, or architectural landmarks? Is the structure unusual or uncommon design of texture or materials that could be reproduced without great difficulty? Is the architect of historic interest, where the removal would be a detriment to public interest? And then retention would preserve and protect the historic place, an area of interest. So a group of us decided that it did meet some of those criteria, and the next step in the process is to hold a public meeting to discuss and invite testimony regarding its demolition and hear some concerns from the public and the property owners or butters as well. So go ahead and advance that, Mark. Thank you. So one of the, and forgive me, I didn't have a picture of both properties. This is the property at Gilman Lane, and the Academy folks will show us some additional pictures and illustrations and mapping of the proposed demolition, and explain that much further. So go ahead and advance, Mark. So I just want to
identify the timeline with which this demo review takes place by the zoning ordinance when the property owner files their building permit. We have within a week to meet, 7 days, and we did do that on October 8th, where I discussed what the decisions were at that point. And then within a 30-day period, 30 business days, we are permitted an opportunity to, one, hold a public hearing and maintain and continue a dialogue with the property owners relative to the decision of the demolition. So that's a recap of how we got to this place. Thank you, Mark. That's all I have. Ed, what I'd like to do is invite Heather and Curtis and Mark to share with us and share with the whole committee and the public the proposed demolition of this building.
Great. Chairman Myers, thank you very much. And the committee, the commission, for inviting us here to continue this dialogue. Our presentation this evening is really a continued discussion from the discussion that we had on site on October 8th. I want to introduce our team. I'm Heather Taylor. I'm the campus planner and architect at Phillips Exeter. Mark Layton, the director of facilities and slide advancer. And Curtis Boyman is our facilities technical planner and architect as well. I wanted to start with, you can go to the next one, a little bit of a context, just to recap, and if anybody is listening online or for the public, to just kind of the context of what we're trying to do. This is a part of a proposed faculty neighborhood for the Academy faculty. In April of 2020, we purchased 35 High Street, which, Mark, I don't have my little, do you want to point?
35 High Street, right there.
I don't know whether that'll work online. And we purchased the property for a number of reasons. One, just south of this area, and just for orientation to everybody that may not be here or wasn't at the site, this is right at the intersection of High Street and Portsmouth Ave. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work. We'll try this. No. See, there we go.
Mark, you might be able to use the mouse too.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whether
You might be.
Yeah.
You might be able to move the mouse
for online. So just south of this, off the page, is our observatory. And so one of the reasons we purchased the property is for program preservation, because we were concerned that somebody could come and potentially take 35 High Street. It is a commercially zoned piece of land. They could have taken the building down, put large lights, et cetera, that would affect things. So that was one of the reasons. The other is we do have a shortage of faculty housing. 35 High Street contains 6 apartment units right now of 1 and 2 bedroom small units, and they are all filled now with faculty. Also on this site is, Mark's got the thing, that is 8 Gilman Lane. Also, we own the Harriet Tilton House, which just is off this area, and 10 Gilman Lane is actually, we call Stuckey House. And Gilman Lane right now has access to our fields. There is a easement for utilities because the town needs to access down there. So that has to be, some access to that site has to be maintained. But one of the things we're looking at in this proposed development is actually to reroute Gilman Lane to come out to the intersection at the light. If anyone's ever tried to come out of there when there's any kind of traffic, taking a left is taking one's life in their own hands, sort of, to try to take a left there. So we will make it obviously sized for fire trucks, medical trucks, and all the utility trucks that need to come in and out of the site. And we are here today, as you said, to seek approval of the partial demolition of 35 High Street and the demolition of Gilman Lane. This is Mark, if you want to advance to the next. This is an overview of the existing site as it is, showing 35 High Street with additional attachments on the back that probably an additional original T, but then a barn that was added at a later time or another structure. It's not quite a barn. And then 8 Gilman Lane that is set back from the street. It's interesting in doing a lot of research, and Curtis will talk a little bit about this. There are several maps that show different buildings at different times, and at one point there were buildings right along the street edge, but they disappeared by, I believe, 1840 or 1870. But 1870s it was gone. So I thought we would start with 35 High Street. The house dates to the early 1800s, somewhere between 1802 and 1822 based on our research. And our goal is to remove the back portions of the site, all the areas sort of highlighted in red, and restore the original colonial sort of box. And right now, it's in excellent condition because it's really been what it's been. So as you all recall from our site walk and going down into the basement, the foundation is in great shape. The original beams are sort of hand-hewn beams. Of course, we'll talk about that. Our goal is to restore the exterior envelope, a new roof, the restored chimneys, new windows, get rid of the aluminum siding. As you know, this is, if you're sitting at the light at Exeter, at Portsmouth Ave and High Street, this is sort of the front door to Exeter. And Curtis, I don't know whether you want to talk a little bit about some of the history of it.
So 35 High Street was built by Josiah Gilman Smith, son of Josiah and Emma Levitt, and they lived there until about 1897. And then Dr. Alpheus Sawyer was the first of several doctors to have a home there. Dr. Alice Chesley, Exeter's first woman doctor, was the one that occupied the home after Dr. Sawyer had left. 35 High Street is constructed with a post and beam and pegged connection. So it's an old construction. It's really something that you see in late 1700s to early 1800s in construction. The beams inside are hand-hewn beams, and the structure is original structure to the house, so including the original chimneys in the house. And going through the basement, we can find the original basement through the T, and then the actual part where the apartments are in the back is a slab-on-grade construction sitting on concrete, and we're not sure when that was actually built, whether that was early 1900s or sometime around then.
So we'll go through. So 8 Gilman Lane. These are images of the front and the back and the basement, which in this building, we've done a lot of significant research on the building. Particularly, we don't take taking down buildings lightly, so we want to make sure that we understand everything we can about it. We understand the foundation dates to 1799. The Academy has owned the building since 1910, and we have had faculty in it since then. In 2016, the last of the faculty to live in it moved out. One of the challenges of the house is that it is a very large house, so it's larger than our typical faculty home. And in our research, we found as early as the 1950s, we were trying to figure out there are plans of how to split it up into 2 units. That was clearly never done, but it is a plan and a document. And in 2016, after the faculty member that had lived there for a long time moved out, we also engaged an architect to look at how could we divide it into 2 as well, differently. It was very expensive, and it didn't yield productive units for faculty. One of the things we require for our faculty is an office at home, and it wasn't able to provide the right number of bedrooms and an office. It didn't really work very well. So we kind of set it aside. We did our campus master plan, and then during that time is when we were able to purchase 35 High Street. So we identified the area as a potential for a faculty precinct and did a precinct study, and in there looked closely again at at the building, and at the end of that, again, given the fact that everything we do is program driven, and it didn't really fit the need for the faculty house. So this is ultimately the image you have now is our proposed development that includes the restoration of 35 High, the front original portion, a new structure that would be designed to fit the criteria. This is within the historic district, so we will be going through that process, and we've designed something that is of the scale and context of its neighbors to fit into the neighborhood, as well as then a series of multi-unit houses, mostly duplexes and one triplex and a single family. And this sort of showing Gilman Lane, how we're going to plan, or we hope to have it come out to the intersection. And really the idea of creating a neighborhood. We're very cognizant of, again, the high profile location of this, and so we want to do the right thing for the community. And Curtis is going to talk a little bit more about what we found when we looked at 35 High, or not 35 High, 8 Gilman.
So yeah, 8 Gilman Lane, the Josiah Coffin Smith House, we also call it the Gardner Gilman House. Gardner Gilman was the one who donated the Gilman farm lands, our athletic fields, to Phillips Exeter in 1911. Josiah Coffin Smith married Emma Levitt, who was from the original map, the Captain Levitt, in 1789. And according to the record, they built a house somewhere around 8 Gilman Lane. In the 1911 Exeter newsletter, Anne Shute Johnson states that she's not sure if the house is the original house of her great-grandmother's father, Captain James Levitt, but it's on the same original site. So that's all we know about the actual siting of the house. We do know from looking at the structure of the house that there are only a few hand-hewn beams that are left in there that are most likely reused. We believe that the original field stone up to a certain point, that height was the original height of the foundation, and the house was taken down at some time and reused some of those hand-hewn beams, and then used the sawn lumber, which was much more common of an 1840s or later time. And we also know that a lot of things have been taken off the house and put on the house. We know that the windows on the front of the house are from the 1900s, and the windows on the back of the house are probably from the 1960s. So there's a lot of things that have changed on the house over the years. The only thing that we can say that's most likely original is the foundation of the house. So that's where what we think is on there now.
So given that 35 High Street was in such good condition, and in looking at how we could reuse that existing front structure and make really nice, efficient two-bedroom units, we're proposing just to demo part of the back end, but reuse and restore the front end. And unfortunately, because 8 Gilman, because of many of the challenges and the fact that the building has been edited, it's not the original building of the early 1800s or late 1700s. It is our proposal there, and because in renovating it and looking at different ways we could reuse it, we spend a lot of money, and at the end of the day we don't get what we need, and it's not a perfect example of kind of what it was of that time. It's an example of what happens to houses over time with many changes. And so our proposal is to demolish that and replace it with the buildings as shown, the plan. We do have a couple of elevations. This is a set of elevations of 35 High Street redone. So again, restoring the shutters. There are a few missing right now, restoring the chimneys. There's a small addition on the back that would be a stair. That's an existing little side bump that we'll leave. And then that's a small addition where the original T was for some stairs. The next this is what is being submitted again. I realize this is outside the purview, but we're just being open and candid with what we're doing. This is the proposal right now of the duplex that would be in that front lawn of Gardner Gilman. Again, designed to be in the scale of the buildings that surround it, and look and have many of the details, and so it fits into its context. So our overall goal is just to be able to create this welcoming neighborhood, and improve the current condition, fill the missing tooth. I mean, from an urban planning standpoint, that front lawn of Gardner Gilman is sort of a missing opportunity, and so we're happy to answer any questions, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you all. That was great. Appreciate all the detail that you provided. There obviously aren't any physical members of the public to weigh in, and I'm not looking at anybody online at the moment to weigh in. So I'll turn it over to our commission to ask questions. There's some of us were on site for that decision to make it to this point. Others weren't. So what are your thoughts? Do we have some?
Would it be good to start with just and concentrate on one of the situations first, such as 35?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Can I just ask a general question, though? Before we get into that? Could you show the site plan again?
Sure. Which, the current one? Or
Your proposed. Yeah, I guess that right there. So the top left is the building we just saw a picture of, and the garage
Right.
in the back. Okay.
Right.
And the other buildings, although haven't been designed yet, would complement the neighborhood as well?
The long building behind, though, that is a triplex, as we call it, so it's 3 units. And it also falls into a portion of the historic district, so that would be reviewed under HDC.
Yeah, it's going to be visible coming down Portsmouth Ave.
Correct,
as well.
correct. We will have some landscape for sure, but it will be. And then the other units in the back, the duplexes and single family, are outside of the historic district, but the whole thing is going to be in a family of the same family of details, similar to what we did when we did the O'Neill courthouses. It's kind of a whole sort of neighborhood, and it feels and holds together. They're going to be smaller than the O'Neill courthouses, and of course, in today's age, we can design an energy efficient, and we own these buildings forever. So our goal is to make it the kind of building you want to own forever.
In Gilman Road, it's going to intersect directly with Portsmouth Ave. Are you proposing a red light that's visible?
There already is.
There already is.
Oh, they're coming out of that?
There's
Yes.
a 4-way light there.
Well, so this is, right now, so this intersection is where the light is. This is
Well,
High Street.
I know
and
there's a
Portsmouth.
light, but is it a 4-way or 3-way?
It's a 4-way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Triggered by coming out of that driveway, it triggers the light.
I've never come out of the driveway, I guess.
So by taking off, there's the little bump addition that was added
Right.
at some point. We think that might have come when one of the doctor's offices or something was added, but it's clearly the foundation is different. It's brick, not the granite stone. So we would take that back to the original house, and that gives us a little more leeway. I think that we have a sidewalk on the other side to walk in. I mean, the public now walks down Gilman Lane and to the fields, and they would be able to walk down. This is not a public road. This is still a private road. But we would still have the gate that we have here. But it's, as I said, designed for emergency vehicles to get into the fields, and the utility vehicles for Unitil and others to get in. So,
You're going to be taking off the historic Foster's Democrat office back there? I don't know.
you will.
Sign's been gone for a long time. I wanted the finial.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go on the sidewalk, but the presentation that you've made of what you want to keep at 35 High Street and what you want to take away seem appropriate to me. That bump out on the left side has always bothered me. But as much as you've researched it and know about the structure, I appreciate you wanting to keep it there and reuse it for its original purpose. So I don't have any dilemma, I guess, with the proposal for that building.
For 35? Yeah.
No, I'm fine with 35. I mean, that addition in the back was clearly tacked on with chicken wire and glue. And if you take it off, nobody will, well, of course, the people living there might mind, but I don't think it would make any difference. 8 Gilman Lane, I have all kinds of issues, but I think we're talking about 35 right
Yeah,
now.
let's finish that.
John or John?
No, I'm delighted that to the attention that you're paying for that 35 High Street.
Thank you.
Bill, you want to
Just
say?
one minor thing, and I think I know, but in the write-up, it says the original mid-house structure will be replaced with a new code compliant enclosed stairway. That's all interior? That's nothing.
That's the,
The front's gonna look, except for maybe the porch is
the front is gonna look the same.
Okay.
And,
on 35, yeah.
and the rear portion that where the addition is just this little structure so that we can get a stair to the second floor.
I'm fine with 35 also.
So,
Should we
entertain-
have a motion to forward this to our recommendation to the HDC?
Yeah,
That where we go next?
I think so, yeah. Somebody like to propose
Now,
some
is this,
language around
going to
that?
do- These are the two houses, is this one proposal, or can we vote on house number 1 and house number 2?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we
Do-
should,
Do it separately?
I think we should do it separately, just
Sure.
because it sounds like there's different conditions. So, and they are separate, well, the map doesn't show it as a separate property, but it's definitely a 911 separate property, so.
Well, in that case, I move that we accept the proposal for the demolition of the addition in the back of 35 High Street.
But the side's coming off too, right? The proposed renovation maybe, or,
Yeah, it's better language.
I'll
So
second it.
I was going to say, just for clarification, so the motion is to accept the proposal for renovation of 35 High Street
yeah.
As
I
presented.
would
as
second- I would
presented.
second that.
Excuse me, Jay, would it make sense just to accept the application as submitted for 35 High Street?
Yeah, were they two separate applications, or I thought they were?
Well, maybe you could break it up to say that as applied for or submitted for 35 High, just so you don't have to worry about the renovation, and
Oh,
it's up to you guys. I mean, but
Yeah.
this is just a demo permit, so we're just asking for you to
Yeah, that's a good,
to accept
so accept the
that.
proposal as submitted for 35 High Street.
Who's making the motion?
Are they both on this?
So the motion is,
Pam started it.
I know, Pam's
For accept the demolition as presented for the addition, and, oh, I didn't bring my thing here, so. The addition and the back L.
Renovation.
just the renovation as proposed?
renovation Of 35 High Street.
Can I just ask you to make one addition? Because actually the two properties are on separate tax
That's why I
parcels. Yeah, so that number.
I think it's
71 dash, now which one is which? I do not know that.
17?
117, I
It's
believe,
35.
is 35 High Street.
Yeah,
Okay, so, all right.
yeah, it is.
71-117, which I understand to be 35 High Street.
Yes. And you want to,
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? No. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed, so the motion passes with unanimous acceptance of the motion.
Okay.
All right. So let's turn our discussion then to the 8 Gilman Lane property and the proposed demolition of that structure. Pam, you indicated you had some thoughts around
I
that.
have all kinds of thoughts.
You were.
I know you made a wonderful presentation. I went through the house. But you know, I love that house. And Curtis, you were at the Historical Society. I know you know the history as well as I do, but this house is a wedding present. It's a wedding present that Captain Levitt gave his daughter Emma when she married this Josiah Coffin Smith, who, by the way, is a Gilman. Because he is the grandson of John Gilman, the Gilman Garrison House Gilman. So this is Exeter royalty. Gilman is marrying a Levitt. And they were married on July 11th, 1789. And we don't have a whole lot of buildings from the 1700s. In fact, I can only think of 5. And yes, this one has been cut down and chopped up and talked together and pasted over, and everything that you can think of that can happen to a house happened to that one. And you showed it to me, and I've been in there before. But you did show me the basement again, and that basement is worth saving just for its own self. All the brick vaulting, and you know there was an Indian burial down there? When they were excavating to build the house, they found this guy had been buried sitting there with 6 spoons. Where did this guy get 6 pewter spoons?
Harvard.
But they were his grave goods that he was taking with him to heaven. And so, I mean, this is quite a historic property here. And, you know, we can't just let it go without a fight. I'm sorry. That's my say.
Well, you said that there was quite a problem of dividing it out. When the Browns or the Goulds were in there, which are the last 2 families, did they use the whole building or pretty much? Mm-hmm. The Browns had a lot of children, I know.
Right. That's why they were assigned to that home.
I was looking at, if you look at the picture, if you lop off the left, the east addition to that and the front porch, it looks pretty colonial to me. And you could look at it from the street with a nice lawn and whatnot. It does look to me like it fits right into the same historical. I mean, you've got, it's not yours, but the next house down towards town is a very nice colonial house too, and the one in back of that you own, and the
Stuckey house.
Yeah,
or Harriet Tilton. Harriet Tilton was actually
is quite a good house too.
That one was built in 1789, and I think that's where Levitt, that was his house, and that's why he gave the land to his kids so they'd be close by.
But then you also want to put a house to the right of that along in sort of on top of the old Gilman Lane. Is that right?
The road where
that house up on the left.
Right. This house.
No, that's replacing.
The existing Gilman house is right about here. It's in the middle of the road. So, we did look at different plans of, different roadway plans, how could we keep it, but nothing sort of gelled to sort of make it work. And so that's why we're here sort of with this proposal.
The replacement is the building.
The replacement is really, we're really putting a new piece in the front lawn.
Right, that's
and then
brand new.
The house, the foundation of where it is of Gilman is sort of half in the road and half.
Oh.
This isn't really our purview, Bill. It's not really our purview to have any decision on what you're proposing.
Right.
Well, no, I'm just trying to get an idea. So because my argument is to keep the old house there, but maybe take the addition on the left off. Because part of, at least I'm new to the committee roughly as relative to some of the people here, but it seems that in some of the cases we've said, well, there have been changes in a particular house, but that's part of the history and part of what you want to show is I mean, it's not bad to have an original house and then show, if it doesn't change the original house that much, some of the additions and whatnot. For example, the fact that this was raised at some point, showing. So I wonder if we can't work with it yet.
So Bill, I would just offer that. I mean, we've looked at everything that you've asked, and I think, but then you're still significantly altering that structure, and that's where we felt like we were still trying to make something work that is at the end isn't going to really work as far as program for us. And so that's why we looked at the opportunities that we had is that you see here is really to start over and build something that we hope in 5 years that everyone will look like this has been here for 100 years, except for better shape because it's brand new. But I mean, this gives us those opportunities to be able to do that and to be able to really, we think, fill in that gap that's right there and create a nice, beautiful streetscape that will fill in and match the architectural integrity that you have all the way around. Pam, I completely respect what you're offering for that building, what you're mentioning. I think it's, to us, we're looking at how much that's been altered, and the question of, is that the original structure that was there? The foundation, we agree, has probably been there for a while, but the rest of it, I think, has been altered, and as you walk through, you saw the things that have been changed, and but I completely respect your opinion as far as the history that's there, but I don't think that structure is the same one that was there as the wedding gift, and but, I mean, again, that's respect your opinion and your knowledge of that.
I guess one question that comes to my mind is, can that history be memorialized in a way that's
Absolutely.
different than the house itself? Like when the house goes, the reminder of that history goes with it, but are there ways to memorialize what we've identified as a significant history on that property?
We've talked about that internally too. I think it's an absolutely great idea to be able to even document the history even better than what we've done, but we could do it several different ways, and whether that's on site, we did something to memorialize that or to document that, or even with the Historical Society or other ways. We did that for Thompson Cage on campus when we replaced that with a new field house. If you walk into the new field house, you see a wall dedicated to that. I think we have a lot of opportunities that we'd be willing to want to work with you guys on how to do that, and just work through those details. And we've done that in others where, Julie, I think you remember down on River Street, we had purchased a property and had demolished it, and we did a photo documentation of that, which we did for the Thompson Cage. Also, we could hire a photographer to do that and really document it well, even the history of this. I mean, this is the great research that we've done, that Charters has done, but we can do something even more for the documentation as far as this.
Well, we've got tons of documentation of houses that don't exist anymore. I mean, you can document it until the file hits the ceiling, but the house is still gone.
We'd be happy to also do something on site as, the public does walk to that area. I mean, if there is some way that we do something into the landscape, or whether it's, so that documentation and the images are right there, because as you said, you can have lots of documentation, but not everybody's going and sort of finding that. But if they happen to walk by and there's something there that talks about it, I get it, it's not the same thing as the house.
It's much better if you walk by and the house is right there.
Yeah, but
this house isn't that house.
Yeah.
Are there photographs of this in the early 1900s before?
Not inside, no.
One single photograph from the back looking up Gilman Lane, and it appears that it has very tall windows. Looks like a triple hung window. Looks like it has columns and a lower porch and an upper porch, much more like a a house you'd see in the south of the United States. Not a common New England house.
I just, the story, Pam, is very interesting, but looking at the building, I don't see it, especially from the rear.
Well, the rear is, the rear is really changed.
Yeah, I mean, I assumed that the dormers on the third floor were probably added in the 1910s, 1930s, because it has the double hung weighted windows that are similar to what was sort of, so none of the windows are the same, or the original. And then obviously, whether it's the 50s or 60s that the other windows came in, they're not. There's nothing to save there.
I wasn't on the site walk, and so I just had a question about the chimneys, and excuse me, if they are still, or if you think they're original from what you saw in the basement, or because they're not in the kind of symmetry that I would expect for that period of house.
One of the things we were, in the basement, we were trying to see, because you would think in a house like this, it might have had a double, and there are some areas where it looks like there might have been one, but the front one is clearly gone, and the one that exists that's sort of in the rear, this is on the west side, the west parlor, what's inside the house there is clearly like late 1800s or something like that. It's not, it's definitely added, and while the original vaulting that Pam talked about that's in the basement for the base of the chimney, it was clearly added when the entire thing was lifted. So how much that they lifted the chimney and then just inserted, or whether they redid it at that time is unclear.
I would say the brick that you see in the picture on the left, the raised, it was very similar to the brick that you see in the chimneys, in the building of the basement and the structure of the chimneys.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something. Whenever they lifted the building, it's probably of that era that those chimneys were rebuilt.
Yeah, well, that's what piqued my curiosity, is that they're just, you look at 35 High Street and the chimneys are right there where they should be, and this one is
The footing,
similar period, at least the part we now have, but the chimneys are whacked.
but you are correct that in the basement, the footing of the chimney is much larger than what's coming up through the house. The much smaller chimney that goes through the roof than what's in the basement.
I'll show you my house sometime. It had three chimneys or more. There's one left. One's cut off in the basement, one's cut off in the attic. So that, things happen to chimneys. And to your point, Bill, about, we have talked before about different examples of buildings that have had the natural additions that occur, like the connection to what may have been a barn or a carriage house. But we've seen better examples of that than this one. I made the case for one on Wadley Street, and we've seen them other places in that neck of the woods. But this one is, you can't tell even what sequence of addition went on there.
Any further discussion or thoughts? John, you didn't walk the property.
Yes,
I did.
Oh, you did, and you both, okay. Thank you for reminding me.
Gilman Lane looked like a lot of work to do what you want to do. I know something about construction, but not enough to know if that can be done properly and restored properly.
Another question comes to my mind, just in terms of salvage of materials, giving a chance to see the inside. There seemed to be, and I'm no expert either, but there seemed to be some things that could be saved and reused. The field stone of the foundation, perhaps incorporated in another structure, or
Site.
or
Site walls.
Right. Is that something that is, within the purview of a redesign of that area?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Absolutely, I mean, we'd want to.
Even materials on the inside of the building, those are things that we would definitely work with a contractor. So, and the other thing is just, if there was somebody that wanted to take this house, we've also done that on the academy. If there was an interest, not on our site, but to move the building, we would definitely be open to that. This is a pretty big building to move, and I'm not sure people would be interested in it, but we did that with what we used to call Merrill House down on Water Street. That was relocated. So, but I just want to make sure to be clear that we want to reuse the site more efficiently for us, but it's not necessarily about this building that can't survive. It's about reusing that site with a better use. So just want for the record.
Can you tell when it was raised, are the beams in the ceiling of the basement new? Were they then replaced, or did they just raise? Can you?
We believe they were reused from whatever the original structure there.
So those are old.
Yes, they're a hand-hewn solid timber. And then you have some infill of the dimensional lumber, which was sawn.
Yeah, it's a mix.
So mixed use in the floor. And once you get up higher, you see that it's all dimensional lumber, the smaller timbers.
Yeah.
And then the new addition on the side, that's when you actually see the nominal dimensional lumber, where a 2x4 is actually 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches. You start to see modern lumber that would have come out in the 1920s being used in that part.
Is there a way of reusing some of those beams in the new?
Oh, absolutely. Those beams are valuable. That
In the new
kind of
building?
timber, you can't get that anymore.
No, I know.
To your point about the history, and I was curious about the Native American burial that's there, is there any evidence of where that was left?
No, it was before, it was in the 1780s, and there was no heritage. You didn't call the archaeologists in those days.
No, the only reason I'm asking is that this has come up, it's coming up at a zoning board hearing, actually, about there's a state law now in our zoning ordinance about building within 25 feet of a burial or graveyard or cemetery. So
When they were building the house for the wedding couple, they found this.
Those are the rumors that are not.
Well, the spoons are at Harvard. You could, somebody or some, I don't know who would actually have authority, but one could write to Harvard and say, we'd like the spoons back.
Yes, we
They're
could see
probably
if
in a drawer somewhere.
if those spoons actually exist, because supposedly they were donated to Harvard at a certain point because they were Harvard pewter spoons.
Yeah.
But the cemetery for Levitt Smith Coffin is at the end of Marlborough Street, and that's part of the property that we maintain.
So,
all right.
So do we make a motion on this property?
not me. Dead silence.
I'm trying to think how to word it. I guess I'll move to approve the demolition of 8 Gilman Lane, also known as apparently 29 High Street. Now, 71-119. However, with the stipulation of with the condition of some kind, discussion about mitigation as far as documenting or some display or et cetera.
I didn't get the condition, how you worded it.
The condition that we work with them on some kind of mitigation, they call it, when it's sort of like a trade-off. Okay, take the building down, but show us what was there, or,
The mitigation being we would try and work with them on
like with the Great Dam, we have that sign, and we have something in the library, and
Could we also add that encourage them to use as much of the old building as feasible? I'm thinking of the beams mainly. And they could be not that everybody's going to see them when they walk by, but the comfort that we have done, some of the building is, quote, original, whatever.
All right, I'll amend my motion. So I move to approve the demolition of 8 Gilman Lane, tax map 71-119, with the following conditions. That the Phillips Exeter Academy work with the Heritage Commission for some kind of mitigating display, I'm going to say display, and also to reuse of materials of consequence and durability.
I'll second that. Are there any other conditions we should add?
Well, that's, and say we can enter into some further discussion of that.
Yeah.
When you do the demolition of the interior, I'm still having trouble with this, the front of this house as well, the window placement and the fenestration in general. Can you take it apart carefully to maybe document where the changes had occurred, so we know a little bit more about?
I think that's a great idea, yeah, so we can definitely do a selective demo to try to understand.
Because, you take off a piece of wall, you can see where the door opening was that was originally there, and you might even be able to get, traces of moldings and things that would help tell the story that Pam alluded to. That would support that what we have already.
Yeah, I think we can. I'm just thinking of how is that something we want to come up with a demo plan and we're going to work with you on, or I'm just trying to think of how that would.
Oh, well, looking at the windows, on the right side, they're not even over each other. One of them is over.
Yeah.
Same thing with it's a would you call it a 6-bay house? Or
it is, we've done a lot of driving around biking around town to sort of look at other old structures, and I think somewhere I found one with a funny similar-ish, but not, there's not that. So yes, we'll have, I think we would come up with be happy to work with you to come up with a plan to sort of take it apart a little bit to try to figure out some of the history and then document that history.
Would help substantiate what we do know about it.
Yeah.
Because I think this has been drastically changed from what it was. And it might be interesting to find out.
Is that something you want to be invited to photo document as a representative of the HC?
I think the Academy is more than willing to and able to do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there.
I'd like to see it.
What's that?
I'd like to see anything you find.
So we can come up with just a very quick, basic plan of how we're going to attack the demolition. Do we do the interior first and then the siding or something? We can draft something like that and definitely, and just share it. And then we can work with, and we can work out where if you want to come to the site or something. I think we can work out those details and we can make sure that it's not, an excavator showing up and it's done in a day. We'll definitely we'll come up with a plan and share it with you. Not for your review or approval, but just to share, and then we'll follow that.
And somebody we will certainly offer it if somebody wants to take the structure if somebody comes along and wants it. But stranger things have happened.
So what would be the phraseology of that, say, third condition? We've got 2 conditions, this being a third.
Well, I think my mention of the mitigation would cover what John's asking.
Okay. All right. So, fair enough.
I mean, in reality, you can take this down. All we can do is delay it a little bit, and that's what we've really done right now. But the fact that you're concerned, that you're doing the right thing and you want us to feel that you're doing the right thing, I just think that it would be nice to find out if there was something that is worth recording there as you get into it.
That seems like an easy and a fair trade.
Okay, did that get seconded?
So it did get seconded. That was a continuation of further discussion.
I think Bill seconded it already.
Bill,
Yeah,
you did.
I did.
And then, for those that are in favor of the proposal, or the acceptance of the demolition of 8 Gilman Lane with conditions to identify and reuse materials, and then to also work with the HC for in a process of mitigation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Pam?
This is the whole reason we have a Heritage Commission. But, okay.
5 in support, 1 opposed. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. I have a motion to adjourn our meeting unless there's other business that we want to discuss at this time.
Just one question, we're meeting again Friday morning.
Friday morning.
So Friday morning, 9 a.m.
Baptist Church?
at the Baptist Church.
And we have one next week, is that right?
Yep.
Meeting,
We have our scheduled meeting for Wednesday, the 17th.
that's
In
right.
the evening, I believe.
That is at the evening at
Yeah,
7.
okay. Right.
Yeah,
All right.
Can we put on the agenda,
thank you all.
thank you all,
Yeah.
Thank you.
the watering trough.
The watering.
The watering
get your
trough
sledgehammer.
That was on Front Street in front of the town hall.
Oh,
Take care, it's good.
It's been donated back to the town,
So as an agenda item for our next meeting?
our next regular meeting.
Yep.
The watering trough that used to be in front of the town hall way back when
Yeah.
has been donated back to the town. So I'd like to talk about what we want to do with it. You know, the select board accepted it, but we haven't decided anything.
Okay.
where is it right now?
Public Works hasn't. It was donated by, I cannot remember their first names. When Brentwood, I'll know it, I'll remember it by our meeting, but
Okay, we'll figure it out. Okay.
Yep, so there's a couple of other agenda items, and then I think we're still needing to discuss the Heritage District, or Heritage Area, so that'll be on the agenda for Wednesday. John, are you able to attend it if on a Wednesday evening?
It's hit or miss. I got a few other things I'm involved with, so
All right.
I'm going to try to be there.
Okay. We were with that neighborhood heritage area, the planning, sort of hearing from you and the planning board, we're sort of in this flux, and so whatever you can offer in terms of a forecast would be helpful at that time.
I don't even, where do we stand with the whole thing?
Well, and that's
Really
where I
talk
think,
about it.
I think some input, further that discussion.
If we have decided to move ahead with that, then, I haven't heard anything now. We got some mixed reviews from the neighborhood. The planning board's not going to
Well, I
do anything
think,
unless we ask them to, because we have, a bunch of support for it.
well, that's just it. I think we're at a place where either the HC brings it to the planning board, or we wait for the community panel to bring it to the board. So,
Do we know, is anything going on with the neighbors or anything? It's been months since we
yeah.
got feedback.
And that's where I think more full, and to have more available to talk about some of the data.
Is Mara having any discussions with anyone that we know about?
Well, in the last meeting, there was talk about constricting it.
Right.
It may not also be the best interest to constrict it and keep it as it is, so I think that's yet to be decided. And that goes that goes with, does the HC put this forward to the planning board? Or do we continue to wrestle with the community? And we're in it's a bit of a stalemate, I think, from a community
But
perspective. And
it seems like you need pretty strong support
Right.
in the neighborhood.
and without green and Cass and parks, some parts of Park Street, I mean,
Right.
none of those folks are really into the idea of it.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
just something we have yet to finalize, yeah. So, all right.
Okay.
A motion to adjourn? Or is there anything to further discuss? Good. All right, motion to adjourn, Pam?
Yep.
Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just for the record,
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live